Hello and welcome to our Wednesday afternoon prayers or Wednesday lunchtime prayers. And I can see one or two people on Facebook that we don't normally have, so I'll just explain to you. Before lockdown, what used to happen is we used to do some prayers in school every Wednesday lunchtime, and we've managed to continue to do that, but doing it obviously online. So I'm not in school, but some people are, and some people are not as well. And so here we are, and this is our last one for the end of term. Now, again, if you're new, you might be wondering why we have a live bat cam. And the reason is very simple, is that last week we had some bats as our guest visitors, and they were very new.
Hello,
very young.
And welcome to our Wednesday
introduced
afternoon prayers or Wednesday lunchtime prayers.
We saw them, and I thought you'd
like
like to see
one
how
or two
they are
people
doing
on
this week.
Facebook that we don't
So
normally have.
again, if you're
I'll
not
just
aware,
explain
it's
to you.
because
Before lockdown, what used to happen is we used to do some prayers in school every Wednesday lunchtime, and we managed to continue to do that.
This isn't just a random thing. These are not pets.
Online. So
These
not
are
in
wild
school,
animals
but some
who
people are.
eventually, when they're
not
strong
as well.
enough, will be
And
taught
so
how to fly
here we
and how
are,
to
and
catch
this is our
insects,
last one
and
for
then
the
go back
end
into
of
the
term.
wild.
Now, again,
Maybe
if you
by
are
the
new,
time
you
we're
might
back
be
in school
wondering
in September.
why we have a
So
live
here we are, this
bat
is
cam.
an update. These are the
And
two
the
older
reason
ones.
is very
The
simple.
little
that
baby
last
one
week
didn't last very
we had
long,
some
I'm
bats as
afraid.
our guest
She
visitors,
was 2 weeks.
and
But
they
these two
were
are doing
very
okay.
new, very young.
And
And
so,
welcome to
we're
our
now going to
Wednesday
introduce
afternoon
because
prayers,
it's nice
or
and
Wednesday
warm.
prayers.
The black
And
silver
that's
heater.
what you see
One
how
or two
they are
people
doing
that like to go
Facebook
against
that we
me.
don't
So
normally
again,
have.
if you
So
get
I'll
aware
explain to you.
up the top there, cuddling up
Before
to you.
lockdown, what used to
Big
happen is
social
we used to do
and
some
like
registered
just
life
see
every
what
Wednesday
you
lunchtime
can keep
to
warm.
we managed to
And the
continue
milk
to do
there
that.
is just a
So
version
these
of
are
goat's
not
milk
online,
that we
so
use
not in
wild
school,
animals
but some
who
people
the
are.
same as
Eventually
we
to
do
this
puppies.
one.
And
And
they
so
pretty much
here we
learn
are,
to
and
come
this is
and
our
drink
last
it
one
themselves
for
from
the
the
end
chef
of
put
term.
them out
Now,
for us to
again,
get.
if you are
Maybe
new,
it's
you
perhaps
might
a
be
bit
wondering
risque for them to
why
do that.
we have
Like
a
so
live
here we are.
bat
This
cam.
walk around a lot.
These
And
are
they
the
do
two
that
reasons
one
is very similar
press
to
up,
the baby one,
and that's their way.
we had some bats as our guest visitors,
onto their legs.
and these two are doing very new, very young. And so welcome to our now Wednesday introduced
Getting their arms
and
and their legs
as
strong
you see,
enough
two
to
people
go
on Facebook that we don't know. So again, if you just explain to us pulling on to lockdown, as you said, and issues some registered life every Wednesday lunchtime to manage to continue to do this. Just a version of goat's milk, so not in school, but some people are saying eventually to.
I don't really know why. Let's see if that makes any difference. Right, it should, I think. I don't know. I don't know if that will make any difference. We'll see. I've only got one microphone turned on, so there shouldn't be anything. So sorry about the echo. Let me know if that disappears. Oh, they can't hear me. Haha. Okay, well, let's see now. I've changed the setting, whether that makes any difference. I don't know why, but you never know. It's technology. So there we go. So that's our bats. And if you've only just been able to hear me in school, oh, there we go. I was just saying the two older ones have done very well, and they're exercising their wings, doing press-ups and things. You think I'm joking there, but they might perform for us later on. And the little one unfortunately was 2 weak and didn't survive more than a day longer, so she died, I'm afraid. But these two are doing really well, and sometimes they drink themselves out of the milk, and often we have to still feed them with the paintbrush that you saw. And if they look a bit fuzzy and white, that's because they like sticking their faces into the milk, and any sort of mustiness is just milk, just like babies. So there we go. So that's our bats. So they're getting on really, really well, and they're part of our theme again today, because what we are doing is we are getting them ready to move on. And I've just realised I've got two people from school talking to me. Hello, Miss Edgar as well as Miss Stitch. It's because you've all got the same similar names as each other. Well, all begin with the same with each other. And I got a bit confused there. It doesn't take a lot. Okay, so the bats are getting ready to eventually move on, and that's a case of all of us are doing that. And so some of you at school are moving on to a new school in next time you come back to school, although it's a few weeks away. It's end of term and it's almost the next school days, and all of us in school one way or another are moving on. If you're one of our students, then you will be moving on to a new class, a new teacher. If you're a new teacher, you're getting new students next year, all sorts of new things. And so today is a little bit about moving on and getting ready. Now I am going to have a try at leaving the cam on, and I hope that doesn't distract you too much, but you'll be able to see what is going on. Because I need to show you something else. Now it's going to be a bit hard to show you something else today, because normally I have both that's what my second camera's for, but one's on the bats at the moment, so that might be a little bit more difficult, but we'll see what we can do. And what I can do is, this is quite hard, what I'm going to show you. I can send you email teachers a link if you email me if you need it. I can send you a YouTube link that shows you how to do it. Now I know some of you got really quite involved in something we did a few weeks ago when we made the Mabias strips, and we talked a little bit about infinity and things going on forever and ever, and all sorts of complicated things like that. Oh, there's lots of people there. Gosh, wow. Does that make me a media star? Oh, I do hope not. I didn't say what's up at the beginning. You're supposed to do that when you're a media star, aren't you? So anyway, some of you I know did some of our crafts a few weeks ago, and there was a bit of to do with infinity there. So this is another one, and this is a really, really good one. So what you need to do here is, and I know you haven't got this with you, but I'm just going to show you and then you can have a go later, is you need 2 squares of paper. Okay, it doesn't really matter how big they are. This is just normal A4 paper that's been cut into a square, and that's dead easy to do. I'm sure you know how to do that, or someone will be able to show you how to get a square. But the 2 squares just need to be the same. Now mine are different colours, but that's only so that you can tell them apart. So it really doesn't matter if they're the same colour. It can be a lot smaller, and this is absolutely fine. And the first thing you need to do is, do you know what I'm going to do actually? No, I'm just going to I'm going to tilt this down a little bit. Let's do it like this actually. Let's go like that, and let's tilt down. Let's see if you can see. Okay. First thing you're going to do is going to fold them in half and make 2 rectangles. Okay. Now the way I usually do that, because it's what I'm like, is like that, and you can use scissors or you can use a ruler. Okay, and I have got now 2 rectangles here, just like that, and I've done that with both my pieces of paper, so I'm doing it with my yellow one as well. There we go. So I've got 4. Okay, 2 yellow ones as well. Now what I'm going to do with each of these pieces of paper is I'm going to fold it in half, just like that. Fold it in half, and then I'm folding it in quarters, but I'm going to make what we call a W shape, or it might be an M shape, but because my name has a W in it, I think of it as a W shape, just like that. Okay, so I folded it up like that. I've made a W. Okay, I'll show you once more with one of the other ones. Fold it in half, just like that, and then folding it again. But what I did is, if that felt folded like that, I went back down like that and back down like that. Now some people, we did this at church a couple of weeks ago, and I know some people it took a while to keep practicing and do it. It takes me a while to practice and do it, so don't worry if you want to have a go at this and you don't get it right first at all. It is quite difficult. Now you're going to glue these together. So here they are, they're exactly the same. Now if you get this the wrong way around, it doesn't massively matter. It's just you've got a little bit more folding to do later on. So I need my glue. What's happened to my glue stick? Where's my glue stick? There's my glue stick. That's Adam. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2 corners and I'm going to fold them together. Now if you have, this is how you get it right, but as I say, it doesn't matter. If you have it so it's like a M shape, on this table in front of you, and both the bottom ones are the same, like that. And then if you take it again, so again it's like an M shape, and you put, let's get the corners right, that corner to that corner, top corners to top corners, and you're just going to glue them together, corner to corner, just like that. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same at the other corners, so it's all four corners when we get there. Okay, so and that and that. Doesn't matter which piece of paper you put the glue on. Okay, that goes on, like that. And like that. And what you should have is on one side the paper and the split is in that way, and if I turn it around the split is like that as well. Okay, now they need to dry, so we'll give those to the bats to look after to dry, and if I've got this right it will look like this. Okay, just fold it over so it looks like the one you've had there. So you've got your yellow ones on that side with the split, and you've got your blue ones, and all I've done is this has just got the lines drawn on it so you can see that they are like they are. Now this is called an everlasting card, because if I get this right, okay, I do try and get it right, but I don't always. What will happen is I take my card and I open it, but I open it so that it goes like that. This is why having the different colours is really helpful. So I've folded it opened it once, and then as you can see it's doing itself already. I can open it in the other direction, and it folds again, and I can open it in the other direction, and it comes again, and I open it in the other direction, and we eventually get back to yellow, and then I do it again and again. It's easier when it's flatter on the table, you'll see easier, and it keeps going around and round and round. I get what is called an everlasting card. Okay, so a little bit more of infinity for you, and this is great for telling a story. So if I can get this right, I'm going to try and tell you a story as we go. So I think what we'll do is we'll just go down a little bit more like that. Oh, looks like looks like we've lost the bats briefly. I think the camera's turned itself off, but that's okay. We don't need them for now. So here we are. Oh, that was interesting. I wasn't expecting that when I made it earlier. Looks like I've used the wrong pieces of paper, but it really doesn't matter. So this is a story I told you a little bit ago after Easter, but it's such a great story, and it reminds us about moving on and getting ready. And so this is a story just after Easter, and Jesus has died and he has rose again, and his friend, two of his friends, not his disciples, not the 12 disciples, but two of his other friends, were walking away from Jerusalem, and they were going on about a 3-hour journey, a 3-hour walk. And so they are going along. Now here we go. I'm going to try and draw upside down. I don't think she's going to work. I probably shouldn't have tried this. They're going on their walk, and you might remember this story. They're walking towards a place called Emmaus, and as they walk along they're talking about all the things that have happened, how Jesus has been with them for 3 years, how he's told them stories, how they've seen miracles, how he's taught them about God. But then it all went wrong. It wasn't what they thought there was going to be, because he died. He was nailed to a cross, and these friends didn't know anything further than that. That is where they saw the end of the story. They didn't see Jesus rising from the dead, so they thought Jesus was dead. And as they're walking along, a stranger joins them and walks alongside with them. And this stranger, he says, doesn't seem to know what's going on. And they say to him, well, where have you been? Haven't you been anywhere? Haven't you're from Jerusalem, you must know what's been going on. Everyone's talking about this man Jesus, and how we thought he was our saviour, how he came to rescue us from the Romans, and all sorts of other things. And yet he died and was nailed to a cross. And bit by bit, the stranger, and the Bible uses this word, it says he opened up the scriptures for them, and he told them all the stories from the Bible, from the Old Testament. And let me see if I can draw. I'll tell you. Let's do it like this. He talked about the stories from the Old Testament, how God had always been there, and how all those stories related to Jesus, how the stories of Moses and all the prophets had talked about Jesus, this Messiah coming, and that this Messiah would suffer and this Messiah would die. And so that's exactly what had happened to Jesus. Jesus had died and he had been put on the cross, crucified with two other criminals. But of course, I'm just going to try and draw a little crown of thorns there. And the holes in the hands and in his feet. But all the way through the Old Testament scriptures, all the way through what Jesus had taught him, he had always been saying that this was not the end, that this was actually just the beginning. And so it wasn't until they'd finished their day's journey and they had got to where they were staying. There we go, back to the phone. And the people had sat down. I'm going to have to turn this upside down, I'm afraid. I'm giving up drawing upside down. It wasn't until they stopped to eat and to take bread and to take wine, and they invited this stranger to join them. And when the stranger gave thanks for the food and lifted it up and broke the bread in half, they realised from his actions that this was Jesus, and he had been walking with them, explaining this all the time. And so this story, the reason why this story is really helpful for us is because it reminds of us our journey. As we walk along, sometimes we start and we head for things that are new and they're a bit exciting, but maybe a bit scary as well. We never know. There are bits it's quite right to be a bit of both. And we walk along, but then what we need to remember is, even if we've not spent much of our last time in school getting ready to move on, it's not about what's just happened recently, but it's actually what's been going on for years and years and years. So all your teachers in school, especially if you're in year 6 and about to go on, you've been there for 6 or 7 years, all your teachers all the way along have been getting you ready. If you're in year 4, your year 4 teachers have been getting you ready all the way through, ready to change to year 5. And it's not just what's happening now, but it's like these stories, like the scriptures, all the things have always been getting ready, heading towards this time. And so your teachers have been there doing that as you've gone along, getting you ready. And of course, we know sometimes it's difficult, we know sometimes it's scary. But one of the things we always remember about the cross and Jesus dying is, although it's really one of the saddest things that we can think about, what it reminds us is that Jesus has been there with us. The grown-up word is Jesus identifies with us. He knows what we've been through. His friends, his family, they all know they've been through tough times as well. And so, although it is hard at times, we remember we are not alone. And that as those disciples on that day ate that final meal with him, where he broke bread, and that's a meal which we in church call Holy Communion, and we do it normally every week or sometimes more often, And it just reminds us that God is always with us. And that's our message, that's what we are remembering today as we move on to the end of years, new classes, as we go into new schools sometimes. We are remembering that we have been prepared, we've been getting ready for this. Our friends, our teachers have been with us all the way along there, getting us ready. And of course, we at St. John's also remember that Jesus, that God is with us all the way there as well, getting us ready. And that of course, even when times are tough, we have God to rely on, and his promise is that he is always there with us. And we just need to talk to him, and he will help us get through those times, along with our families, our friends, our teachers, and everybody else that is around us. And so I'm going to finish there. Actually, we're going to say a prayer, and I'm going to say a blessing for you. We're not doing any other prayers today because I wanted to focus on that. From some of the comments on there, I can see some of you are going to have a go at doing this afternoon, this with optical illusions, so that's great. And I'll let you know, hopefully in September, how the bats are getting on. But we're going to just pray for a minute. So I've got a little screen here I want to show you, and then we'll say the Lord's Prayer together. I think it's on this. Oh, there we go. That was my BB-8 picture. If BB-8, if you've missed having your BB-8 picture, there you are. So this prayer is called the Celtic Blessing, and I used to work in schools all the time, and I used to work in secondary schools, and at this time of year all our year 11s and year 13s will be moving on, and the year 13s, I'll give them a card like this, and many of these cards I know ended up in people's flats and where they moved to as they moved out of school and across the whole country. So this is called an Irish blessing, and some of the words are a bit more are to do with farming and where people live, but it's such a lovely blessing. I'm just going to keep it exactly as it is. It's going to say this blessing, and then we'll say the Lord's Prayer together. Just taking a moment of quiet first. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. The rain fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. Amen. So let's say the Lord's Prayer together. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. So, have a wonderful holiday, stay safe in whatever you do, and I look forward to seeing some of you if you're watching this from school or at home and you're our school people in September, and have a great time until then. I'm going to finish by saying the grace together, and then I'll just put this Irish blessing up on the screen as you go. So let's say the grace together. The grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us now and forevermore. Amen. Thank you all. Just reading your messages now. It takes a while for them to get through, and you'll not get my reply till after. Look forward to seeing you in September. Have a great time, everybody. And if you are in Year 6 and you move up to school, have a wonderful time. If you're in BFA, sometimes I'm around there. In fact, both of them, so you might see me. And do say hello. if you pass us on the streets. That's always great. Bye bye.